I'm Lexi. I'm in the US. One thing that people constantly tell me is that they don't know what to do with spices and seasonings. And I don't know if you've noticed in like some of my meal prep videos, the selection of seasonings I have at hand is kind of large. I actually counted today and I have 72 different herbs and spices that I use in cooking. So I chose 10. I know this is more than 10, but we're going to do something while we go here. I chose 10 of the pretty basic spices to talk to you about today. And I'm calling this Let's Talk Spices Part 1, Beginners. These are all pretty basic things. Things that are going to come with a generic spice rack that you buy at Walmart or Target or wherever you get spice racks in your country. And like I said, there's extra jars here because some of these are my storage jars, and I figured we would just replenish my active use bottles while we're at it. I forgot to bring out the salt. Okay, so I got the salt. Salt is probably the most important seasoning that you can use in your food. And I know you're going, well, of course, you have to salt things. Or maybe you're going, I don't need salt, it's not good for you. And yeah, all right, if you've got high blood pressure, a lot of salt isn't great for you. But salt does taste good and plays a very important role in cooking. Salt helps make things taste more like what they should taste like. So if your dish is feeling like it's flat, try some salt. Then if you salt it and it's still feeling like it's flat, try some acid, like a little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of vinegar. It's usually salt, but once in a while it's acid. The next most common is pepper. And you're probably going, well, of course, I've got that pepper shaker on my table that's been there for the last 10 years. Well, once you crack peppercorns, the oils inside, which is where the flavor really comes from, starts to aerosolize, and that pepper doesn't have a lot of flavor anymore if it's been sitting for a while. Pepper. So I like to do fresh cracked pepper. I get these big containers of peppercorns. Looks like I'm going to need a new one. And I've got this little pepper grinder that does not want to go back together. This might have to be a problem for later me. Oh, there we go. It's a square screw. And I keep this by my stove and grind pepper as needed. You will taste a difference if you go to fresh cracked pepper. And there's not a lot of things that don't benefit from pepper. I mean, salt and pepper with everything. It's kind of the basic, right? So that's probably where you really want to start. Replace that 10-year-old pepper. And yes, I'm using a kosher salt. That's what I prefer. Does your regular iodized table salt work just fine? Yes. Does pink Himalayan salt work just fine? Yes. Does smoked sea salt work just fine? Yes, but smoked sea salt has the smoked flavor, so you want a nice basic neutral salt too. What have we got next? Garlic. And garlic, I don't have a container to refill because I just use it out of this. I use a lot of garlic. Garlic is good on almost any savory dish. It's essential to Italian cuisine. It's grilled chicken, steaks, pork chops, soups, stews, potatoes. Very few foods aren't improved by garlic. Don't be afraid of garlic. This is just garlic powder. I also keep fresh garlic around, but it's really nice to have this on hand if I just want to sprinkle some on some chicken or add it to some seasoned flour for a dredge. My favorite herb, thyme. Now, as we go on, you'll see that I've got just an array of spice bottles. When I first started collecting, I thought it would be fun to have a myriad of different glass spice bottles that I hand painted. Well, that went out the window somewhere around bottle number 40. But we're working with the basics today, so they're all still pretty. My favorite herb to use is thyme. I grow thyme in my herb garden, and I grow quite a lot of it because I use quite a lot of it, and I'm getting it all over the table. When I fill my spice jars, what I usually do is make kind of a funnel with my hand and then pour. It's not perfect, it works for me. I will put big pinches of thyme into soups, into sauces, sprinkle it on grilled meats. I like to, anytime I'm cooking anything, no matter what the flavor profile is, I like to make sure that there's one herb in there, one green thing. I feel like it just really freshens up the dish. And one of the ones that I default to, if I don't have something specific in mind, if I don't feel like it needs a specific flavor like oregano or cilantro, one of the default ones I use is thyme. The other default one is parsley, but I don't use parsley quite as much, which is why this is still has a fair amount of parsley in it. A lot of people think parsley is just for garnish, and yeah, okay, it doesn't have as pungent a flavor as thyme or oregano or basil, but it can still add that brightness, that greenness, that freshness that you're looking for in a dish. So if you want a little bit of something green and you're not quite sure what works, try parsley. It's usually pretty inoffensive, so even if it doesn't exactly match the cuisine you're looking for, it's not going to cause you a problem. Just give you that bit of freshness. Close. Okay. And let's see, we have mentioned oregano, so let's do oregano. Oregano, along with parsley and thyme, is another one that I grow in my garden. This bottle, however, did not come from my garden. It's just something I found in my pantry and decided I needed to use up. Oregano is pretty essential for Italian food, Greek food. It's even pretty prevalent in Mexican food. Now, there are different varieties of oregano: Italian oregano, Mexican oregano. What I grow in my garden, I'm pretty sure, is Mexican oregano. What's in this bottle, I have no idea. But I use a fair amount of oregano. Again, it's good for just like some grilled chicken. Sprinkle it on grilled chicken with some garlic and some thyme and salt and pepper. Or you put it in that pasta sauce. You've seen me use it when I make lasagna. Basil. Basil goes hand in hand with oregano. Where's basil? There's the basil. Pizza sauce, pasta sauce. If you've got it fresh, it goes really well on tomatoes, hence caprese salad. I don't use basil so much when I'm grilling meat, but I do use it occasionally on fish. I love basil. It's probably one of my favorite herbs. I know I'm probably going to say that these are one of my favorite things 100 times through this video. But basil is one of my favorite herbs. That's why I try to grow a lot of it. I do tend to prefer to eat it fresh. You can even sprinkle like chopped up fresh herbs on salads. That's really good. Or pesto. Basil. With fresh basil, you saw me make pesto out of nasturtium leaves in the Food Not Waste video last year. Basil is the traditional green to make pesto. And I do make some basil pesto as well. I just know that I've got an abundance of nasturtium leaves and I don't want those to go to waste. I am spilling a bunch of herbs. Sage. Sage is the traditional Thanksgiving herb. Roast turkey, stuffing, even if you're roasting a chicken, that smell of Thanksgiving, or frankly, I use this a lot at Christmas too, that smell of the holidays, that's sage. It's primarily going to be used with poultry, but with any of these things, don't feel like you have to stick to my recommendations. Get creative. The worst thing that happens is you don't make it that way again. Rosemary. Rosemary looks like a fun little pine bush. And again, it's great with roast poultry. And it's really good on steaks as well. It does taste a little bit like a pine tree, I'm not gonna lie. But as long as you go with kind of a light hand, it's delicious. And it's one of my favorite herbs to grow. It grows this nice little bush. And depending on your climate, where you are, some areas of the United States, rosemary can actually perennialize and winter over outside. So you can plant it as part of your landscaping. Like have a little row of rosemary hedges. That just sounds like so much fun, doesn't it? Your yard should work for you. So why not be able to go out and pick some pieces off your hedges and then use them to cook your dinner? That sounds very appealing to me. We are starting to run quite low, aren't we? What is left? That one? That one? And that one. Have we really done 7 already? Okay, cumin. Now cumin is a spice. The difference between herbs and spices are herbs are always the leaf of the plant. Spices are any other part. So like the ground up seeds, that's what cumin is. I like to use cumin, and it looks like I'm going to need to buy some more. I personally think cumin makes meat taste meatier. So I always use it when I'm cooking pork. I always use it when I'm making a roast or a beef stew. But it's also really good in some applications that you wouldn't necessarily think of. If I'm doing a green enchilada sauce, I'll put some cumin in there, and it just adds a lot of depth. Like I said, experiment with these things. All I can do is make your dinner more interesting. Okay, 2 more, which are sort of the same. We've got paprika and smoked paprika. Paprika is made out of dried and crushed up red bell pepper. So it's got a little bit of zing to it, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of depth. Where is my paprika? Oh, here it is. I really like to use paprika on pork, but it's also used a lot with chicken and beef. So basically, there you go, every meat. It's good on potatoes. It's very prevalent in Spanish cuisine. And, oh, where does paprikash come from? Hungary? There's a dish called chicken paprikash that has a ton of paprika in it, and it's yummy. It's something I enjoy making. And this one is smoked paprika. So it's the same dried up ground bell pepper, but it's been smoked. So you've got that unctuous, rich, smoky depth to it. And you can use it in the same ways. Just if you want that smokiness, use the smoked paprika. If you don't want that smoky flavor, use the regular. I keep both in my kitchen, and I probably use them about equally. Oh, that's a problem. Well, this video wasn't going to happen without me spilling at least one thing, right? Yeah, there it goes. On to the cat. Okay, got that cleaned up off the floor before the cat ate it. Not real sure if cats should be eating paprika or not, but mine's kind of dumb, so he would. Where were we? Good on meat, good on potatoes. I always use this when I'm making pork. It's great on ribs. It almost has a little bit of a barbecue flavor to it. It's one of the spices that I reach for the most. Now that's 10, but I do have 3 honorable mentions that I want to talk about. Seasoning packets. If you're new to seasoning, don't be afraid of these. I keep taco seasoning and enchilada seasoning and white chili seasoning, the kind that's meant for chicken chili. I keep those around. It's just a nice shortcut. Could you have all this stuff handy? Absolutely. Nice shortcut to have. Now these 2 are ones that I don't typically keep around because I have all the components. Pizza seasoning and Italian seasoning. Now, are these any different from each other? I think this one might have some fennel in it. I got these given to me because somebody didn't know what to do with their spice rack, so they just gave me the thing in frustration. I'm going to use these up because I don't like to waste food, but it's not something I keep around. I'd rather have all the pieces. That way it's more flexible. It's not something I'm only going to use for pizza or only going to use for pasta sauce. But if you're just starting out experimenting, Italian seasoning is a good one to try. Like I said, pasta sauce, or you could use this for pizza sauce, or on chicken. A lot of people put Italian seasoning on chicken. It's basically, all Italian seasoning is oregano, basil, thyme, rosemary, parsley. I think there's some marjoram in it too, which we didn't talk about today, but marjoram is very similar to oregano. And then there's a third one that a lot of people use very commonly that I don't have, and that's poultry seasoning. And again, it's just, you can put it on grilled chicken or roast chicken or chicken soup, and it gives you a starting place to start exploring spices. But hopefully this gets you started a little bit, and in part 2, we're going to look at a few of the more unusual, but still fairly common spices. Things that you might find in the back of your spice cupboard because you don't use them real often, or that came with your spice rack but you just don't know what to do. But if you liked part 1, let me know down below. If there's any spices in particular or herbs that you want to know more about, let me know down below and I'll make sure that they make the next video or the video after that. Right now I am planning for this to be a 4-part series with the basic spices, intermediate, advanced, and then hot and spicy. Because hot and spicy deserves a category all of its own, doesn't it? But if you have any questions, let me know down below. If you could give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!